Hello and welcome. It's HP Munchcraft, and I'm making a video that might seem a little weird to more veteran Dominions players, but that's because I saw on the Steam forums a couple of posts and inquiry that about how do I use magic as a noob against the AI. Essentially, how do I use Battlemagic? But then another couple of posts in there were by people who also played against the AI, who expressed that either Battlemagic was pointless or they'd never used it. And I know this is sounding insane to multiplayer players, but we're going to hear them out. Or they didn't know how to use it. They had no idea how many mages to bring to fights. They had no idea what the mages should be doing, etc., etc. And it's a big topic. Obviously, you can't cover everything. It'd be very hard. And I'm not even going to cover, what would you do in multiplayer games. Instead, what I'm going to cover very quickly here, so this is just to show how you use certain low-level Battlemagic buffs in order to beat much larger AI armies than you would normally. For demonstration purposes, we have random land nations, all impossible AI, and us as Mictlan, Reign of the Lawgiver. AI types are random. They might be aggressive, they might be passive. This pretender, Colossal Head, who's mostly a Scales God with a little bit of Bless. It's a little bit pub stompy, so good against AI, but just to show you that this isn't like a Hell Bless for cheesing the shit out of impossible AIs. It's pretty normal, doable. Got a lot of candles in there. We're not going to be just rolling through AI with some unkillable Hellbless. We're going to be using magics to beat them, and our sacreds are just going to be slightly more elite than normal. And as for this, we're turning thrones off. No random start research. Random events going to be common. We'll have to deal with that. Renaming is going to be allowed. Okay, that's a kind of interesting start there. So it is turn 16. As you can see, a little bit of a slow expansion phase. We are at war with a couple of the insane AIs, or impossible AIs, that are already launching pretty heavy attacks into us. Asphodel and Tai-Chi. So we are going to be facing some pressure. We have reasonable chokes, whatever, reasonable position, and we have we're going to get Alt 4 next turn. So we are simply doing a little buffblob. What this is I have got mages, 3 mages to a square, because they're size 3. So it's 3 to a square, 2 to another square. They have a bunch of guys on guard commander. And the guys are on guard commander, so they will sit there and take all these buffs instead of taking 2 buffs and then running off and fighting the enemy. We have a couple of guys who are scripted to cast all body ethereals. That is very strong. And we've got some regular casts. The AI did not blurse us with an attack, so instead we are going into them. We are going into the enemy again. Our send was pretty anticlimactic, so just clearing PD. So we're going into them again. Now we just have actual mist forms and actual group barkskins. Hopefully they decide to fight us. If they don't, then we'll see what happens. Alright, so we do get to see a battle here, though it's a little bit more bizarre than I would have hoped, because the AI seems to have rolled a vampire who is a legendary berserker with a magic attack that can get through all of our defensive spell casting. So he immediately lands and starts doing damage regardless of our spell casting. But as you can see, this guy, he's got barkskin, body ethereal, and mist form. So he's got high protection. If he gets hit, it will cut it down to 1 point of damage, except very hard hits. And he has ethereal, so non-magic attacks, other than the vampire, will have a 75% mischance. So we're taking all sorts of archer fire, but it's not really doing anything because we're buffed. Crossbows turn out to be a dud. That's okay. Now the enemy archer fire is landing among us, but it's really killing more of them than it's killing of us because we are so heavily buffed. We are taking casualties, but that's due to the vampire there getting around our defensive magic, and we end up clobbering all their melee units. Their ranged units are going to keep going till they run out of ammo, and then they're going to come into melee as well. We're still kind of trading blows with the vampire pointlessly. So, a little bit unplanned, you know, the impossible AI can pull some tricks out of its sleeve. You may not have known. See, these guys, they aren't supposed to be up here. Their commander probably died and they went to default orders. But as you can see, our Battlemagic, even though they're going to die, they're in a shit position, but they are... Oh, wait, no, they get away. They're sitting there surrounded and not dying to this horde of indies. And it's not because they're sacred. It's not because they're blessed, though that is certainly helping. You want to buff up the most elite guys in your army. But they are sitting here, and we eventually just kill the remainder of the indie stack, and eventually get rid of the vampire as well. We do lose 2 Nahali's, which is a pretty high price to pay, but our troop losses are very, very low, and the enemy troop losses are very, very high. On top of their PD, they had about 175 guys, exactly 175 guys, and we brought in about 50 guys and beat them. Like these guys are better than your average Joe, but they're not 3-to-1 better than your average Joe. It's a couple of turns later, and this is another classic buffblob setup. We got some baits out in front. That's what the singleton crossbowmen are doing, by the way. They'll just bait the enemy towards us. They're on fire and keep distance. So just... This is a more kind of typical result with this kind of army. We've got our guys are body ethereal. They are getting group bark skinned. They are getting enlarged now. Looks like we're going off script. I gave my guys a couple of gems, so they might cast Swarm at the end of this script. We're getting into the fight. Casting some Gifts of Cheated Fate there. That'll cancel out the first hit. And that does stack with Ethereal, so you swing, it checks and see if the Ethereal cancels it, and if the Ethereal doesn't cancel it, the Gift of Cheat of Fate might cancel it. And our guys are even casting a little bit of Smites and Starfires, as you can see, since the enemy has closed in close to us, and we're fully buffed, since we didn't bring a bunch of unbuffed troops to the fight. The mages ran out of buffs and start casting offensive magic on the enemies and getting a few kills. But as you can see, unbuffed troops are not doing very well against fully buffed troops, and these troops are pretty close to fully buffed. They're sacred, but again, that is less of an issue than the fact that they are like group bar skinned ethereal. It helps them. Being sacred helps them. Their elite stats help them a little bit. But they're not just running people over with their bless. They're running people over because they have gotten fully buffed, and the enemy is completely unbuffed. So tons of arrows are landing in us. It doesn't matter. Our guys are casting Starfires, and eventually they just start mopping up what's left of the enemy. The enemy routes. They lose 3 bait crossbowmen and 5 sun warriors, and destroy, again, another army of 170 with an army of 40. Granted, and multiplayer players, if they're still watching, and they maybe shouldn't be, are like, well, duh, you drop 5 mages on them. But if you don't know how mages are powerful in single player, this is just one way they can cheese the AI. So just another couple of things to show off. These would obviously go better if I'd, extensively tested them, but just want to again show off Battlemagic against AI hordes. So over here we have our troops and the enemy's province defense plus troops. We're outnumbered pretty heavily. And these guys, they're just Mictlan warriors. They're just shitters. They're not sacred. They're not nothing. They have slings and bronze spears. So they do have a scale mail curious that they, I don't know, bought on the black market or something. They'll tell a bunch of to nerf it. So we don't get full buff coverage, so we do end up losing some guys. But our guys sit here and shoot while they're getting buffed. And in so doing, they do end up getting pretty good buff coverage. So we see these guys, we've got some ethereal fuckers, we've got some bark-skinned fuckers, and the enemy has this just horde of crap because they're the AI. They have some cataphracts up front. You know, cataphracts, heavy cavalry, or not cataphracts, these are heavy cavalry, the new heavy cavalry with the new T-posing horse. Wait a minute. Did that say what it... Those sons of bitches. So they come in, they run up on our regular ass shitters. They get clobbered. We do have the numbers advantage on those guys. The Moon Warriors apparently decided to tangle. They they're with the commander. Then our regular guys come up. They've got a few other indie types mixed in for fun, I assume, and profit. Then we've got a range duel where we have our slingats versus their bows. They run out of arrows. They've shot their entire quivers. They haven't dealt with us, and they just come in, and our dudes, since they are buffed, since we have good buff coverage, not perfect, we do take a lot of casualties, but we have good buff coverage. They just clobber the enemy. And this is like, I think 4 mages and 50 troops. Admittedly, this is, it's 86 troops. Well, they died down to 50, so this is probably more along the lines of what this mage corps could support here. You know, we were kind of stretching it, but that's okay. So once again, this isn't a 2-to-1 or 3-to-1. This is just a kind of slightly outnumbered force. But they go in and they clobber this bigger indie force with much fewer casualties. Meanwhile, down here, and this is not... Again, this force here was a little bit ambitious. This was too many guys. They were set too far forward for their javelins, so they're going to come in and they're going to not get good buff coverage. They're just going to stay their shitter selves. Throw some javelins into the Tai-Chi guys. They're scattered about. They're going to kind of lose. They're doing some damage. They're not doing nothing. They're going to lose, and they're going to rout, and they're going to run. But this line of warriors here, which did get some pretty good buff coverage on it. That guy didn't get buffed. But it got a little bit more buff coverage. Is going to fight and is going to clobber, despite, again, being your basic Mictlan shitter with no special qualities, is going to just destroy this horde of AI indie trash because they've got buffs on them. HP does not show his defeats craft. I do have to say over here, we do have a pretty good buffblob going, and we do lose. And the reason that happens is because and you'll see some counterplay, the computer is not capable of true counterplay, but it throws random things at you that can counter you. So these dispossessed spirits, it doesn't care about armor, it doesn't care about ethereal, it only cares about MR. So it's going to go through our buffs, paralyze us, and then allow some of these other nasty gooners that Asphodel has deploying to clobber our troops, and this kind of ends sadly for us. So we end up casting Battlemagic. It does do something. Like, these guys are lasting longer than they would have without the Battlemagic, but this was a too ambitious attack against the wrong kind of units, and we get clobbed. Actually, I think I'm going to leave it there. Just let me know if you are new, if you found this helpful in telling you how some basic sort of battle magic techniques. If you are new and you didn't find it helpful because you didn't understand it, I want to know that. It's been a long time since I've been a noob. Most of my content is aimed towards veteran players. And if you enjoy seeing me run up and bash my head against hordes of impossible AI, then let me know about that as well. So that is just how basic battle magic can help you win battles, especially against like the hordes of shitters the AI likes to bring. Obviously, in multiplayer, it's a little bit different, but I can cover that. If you think this was a good guide, let me know, and I can cover more in the future. Probably for the multiplayer stuff, I'll use like staged demos with the arena mode where I'm puppeting both sides, possibly with the debug mod, stuff like that. If you want to know about more ways of cheesing the basic AI, then I can also do that in the future as well. HP out.